I've just explained the left and the right brain to you, and now I want to take that understanding further into looking at the left and right spectrum. In other words, the way our brain is designed determines how we see things. So, for instance, we have the spectrum of the sciences on the left brain side and the arts on the right brain side, as I've already explained. Objective and subjective. Something that is objective is measurable, it's defined, it can be seen as an object. Whereas something that's subjective is more subtle, it's more nuanced, it's more liable to personal interpretation. Something that is subjective is about the way I see it as distinct to the way somebody else sees it. Okay? So you've got something that is solid and something that can be seen in different ways. Prose and poetry, another example. Prose is immediately understandable by and large, whereas poetry is more subtle, more nuanced, more open to interpretation. Yep, so we've got that prose poetry spectrum, and then from the particular to the general. The particular is like the objective, looks at the fine detail, whereas the general is the much bigger picture. And then analyze and synthesize. Analyzing is dissecting, looking at the fine detail, taking it apart, going deeper and deeper into it, whereas synthesizing is bringing the whole together into a big, larger understanding and comprehension. And then by the book and extemporizing. Something that is by the book is like the law, throw the book at somebody, or in music, where you play according to the notation, and that can be a very good performance, but maybe lackluster. Whereas something that is extemporized is created on the spot, as in jazz and other scenarios like that, where people bounce off one another, and it's very creative and may never be played the same again. It's something that comes out on the spot, creative, emergent, as opposed to something that's rigid and predictable. Hardware and software. The hardware is the encasing of a computer, the stuff that we can see, the solid stuff, whereas the software is the programs and other bits that are put into it that do the work. That's the creative element to it. But the hardware is necessary to keep it in place. It's like the fact that we have bones and we have muscles. The bones, if you like, are the hardware, and the muscles are software. We need both, and they're complementary. So if we don't have bones, then the muscles will be doing nothing, and if you just got bones without muscles, it would just fall on the ground. Law and liberty. I've defined this already previously. But again, the left brain tends to be the legal side, puts things in boxes, black and white. And liberty is the freedom, breaks the chains, expands, moves into different directions. Quantitative and qualitative. Quantitative is about measuring stuff, being able to put it in little jars, or measure the height, the width, the breadth, weigh it, and so on. So that's the quantitative, the scientific stuff. You can put numbers to that. Whereas the qualitative is much more subtle. It's creative. It's the artistic side. Just as when people judge, for instance, Strictly Come Dancing, they will be looking at the technical element of what's going on, but then the creative element is also another factor. In Strictly, they don't measure it in that way, but certainly in other sports, they will have two different measurements in terms of how much you actually obey the law, if you like, and how creative you are on the edge of it. And finally, zooming in to the fine detail. If I come closer to you, in a sense, I'm zooming in on the camera, and if I back off, then there's a sense of zooming out. So one gives the fine detail, the close-up, and the other is the much broader picture. Okay, so I hope that's making some sense to you.